Welcome back to Solutions from the Multiverse with Adam Brous, and I am Scott Maupin.
Hey, everybody. SFMers. What do we call people who stan solutions?
Solutioners. It's a terrible one. This is not one of the solutions. It's what we call people who listen to Solutions from the Multiverse. I don't know yet. I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah, we take suggestions. The main thing, and criticisms. You can. We should tell people our Twitter handles so that we can have a conversation.
So we can get lots of criticism.
Total criticism. I'm happy. Yeah, let's do criticism. Or you can maybe just tell them, if you don't want to, we can just tell them mine.
Let's go.
Okay, what's yours?
I'm Scott Maupin on Twitter, so it's at Scott Maupin, SCOTMAUPIN.
And I'm AJ Brous, BRAUS.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you like or hate the podcast, please follow.
Hopefully people who would hate the podcast have not continued listening.
That's true.
Hate listening just to get our Twitter handles so they
You'd be surprised. People on the internet, man, they just enjoy it. They revel in it.
Now I have an image of you at home just sitting there listening to all these podcasts you hate.
I hate them so much.
Have to keep up on all of them.
Can't wait to tweet it against them, to tweet anti. Or if people have like hey, they listen to it and they're like, that's not going to work for this reason. That's
for sure.
Great. Should definitely.
Any kind of feedback. Yeah. We would love to hear it.
Yeah. And if we could start a conversation about some of these ideas that I've never heard anyone talk about these ideas in the news. That's the whole point. So let's
keep the conversation going.
Who knows? Maybe like Pete Buttigieg will start to like say them or something, That's what we want.
That would be the ultimate goal of our podcast is to get Pete Buttigieg to become talking points for Pete.
For anyone, really. But yeah, Pete's good. Okay. Should we do a new solution? I got one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Let's talk about moms.
Let's talk about moms.
Let's get into it. Okay.
I'm always saying that to my friends, all my buds. Let's talk about moms.
Okay. Bottom line up front. The idea is mothers could form a mother's union. Okay. A mother's union. So it's not really a labor union per se. It's not like an actual regulated official labor union because the mothers work in all different industries.
Right.
But mothers could form into a sort of political phalanx across labor and social and political issues and then do things like vote in a block, promote things in a block, promote candidates in a block, go on strike as a block, and they could then provide moral leadership across social and labor and I don't know. There's a lot of issues that that mothers really could provide a lot of.
When you say go on strike as a block, do you mean from their non-mother jobs or from mothering itself?
No, they definitely shouldn't strike mothering.
I don't know.
We need the mothers to take care of the children. I mean,
presumably, yes. You would. That's not one of the striking.
Good question.
Parts.
No, I meant like from their jobs.
Yeah.
As long as their jobs. I mean, it's not good. It's not good to run a strike when your job is like a care profession, like nursing and teaching and stuff. Right. Generally, people frown on that.
But basically, acting together as a unit to
kind of like Moms Against Drunk Driving, right? Wasn't that a thing? And that was definitely a thing. And they provided moral leadership, which is great because that would be really awesome.
So, how do we get a mom's union to happen? I'm not familiar with unionizing.
I know. Well, it's not really like a true union. Like if you're going to really start a union, I just learned all this because, Starbucks is unionizing. There's all this union movement stuff going on. So I just learned all about this. But to start a union is like pretty straightforward. You just like figure out which union you're going to create a chapter of, which is just like, I just actually joined a union. My work, I'm a professor and the professors all just unionized. And all you have to do is get 50% plus one people to vote, yes, we want a union. And then boom, you have a union. So it's actually that's pretty straightforward.
Right.
But, and then you have to get a contract with your employer, and that takes a year. It takes all this effort and stuff. Anyways, I don't know if I love it or hate it, but it's interesting in terms of mothers, right? Because mothers have like a kind of similar thing, right? They have a similar set of interests. Because they all have interest in children. They all have interest in families. They all have interest in safety and education and healthcare.
Hopefully, yeah.
Well, they have. I mean, even if they are neglectful mothers, they still have to be careful about those things, So yeah, hopefully, right. Yeah. So they have an interest that cuts across a lot of parts of society. Why not form into a kind of...
So if you can find things to take action on that fall within that common interest, you could get the power of the moms to work together.
Yes, the power of the moms.
Power of the moms.
If we can
harness
the power of the moms. The moms are quite powerful. They're quite strong.
I agree. I had a powerful mom.
Me too. Really
understand.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. She took over organizations like for fun, in her free time. I mean, I think, there's a lot of issues, right? I mean, you could say, I think there's a big issue with like guns in schools, obviously.
Right.
Moms, I feel like provide a lot of moral, just like moms against drunk driving, right? But moms who actually were like, hey, we need common sense gun reform. The moms union could really take that up.
True.
Even if you're a gun owning mom, you probably still want like background checks,
I feel like there you might have some other political like overlap that causes that to be a fraction, where part of the moms would be like, absolutely no, we're Second Amendment moms who like Second that, moms, that sort of thing. And that's where you lose your unified power.
It's true. Maybe that's not the best one to start with. Although I kind of doubt that there's Second Amendment moms who wouldn't say red flag laws, mental illness screens. Like these things these are not like going to stop normal, regular people from buying guns. It's only going to stop, the small percentage of people who are dangerous gun owners, right?
I know people, especially I have family that lives in Texas. I know a lot of people who are like Second Amendment firstists who I think it's crazy.
Right. But is it the mothers?
It becomes like everybody in the family. It's I don't know, but I know that everyone pretty much holds on to the same belief. Mother, father, and kids grow up in it, and it perpetuates.
Totally.
So that's a thing where there would be, I think, pushback where people would be like, "Is this any way like
okay?" So we got to pick a really narrow thing.
Any sort of
you think that
I think you're going to run into that sort of political divide now in a lot of spots.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is the whole thing, right? So the whole idea behind labor unions is solidarity,
right?
Which is something that maybe we need more of, right? But it's an interesting dimension that I've never heard anyone say. There is an organization, there's Moms Against Drunk Driving, which I haven't heard from very much anymore.
Well, they stopped the drunk driving and then
did they
disbanded.
I don't believe that's true.
They didn't finish it
I'm pretty sure there's still drunk driving.
Oh, well then
I used to live in New Mexico and there was tons of it. Yeah.
It was very popular.
It was insanely popular, like to a dangerous level.
They were doing a dangerous drunk driving.
Maybe now it's because texting while driving impairs you as much as being drunk. So now it's like they need like Moms Against Texting.
And drunk texting is ridiculously difficult.
Even harder.
Anyway.
When you bring that up.
When you stack all three. All right. I don't want to
I'm in a dark place right now.
No.
Let me just pull over and process some of this.
We're demonstrating we need moms. We need someone to come in and tell us
this while driving.
It's going to be okay.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard much from them recently, although I'm sure they're still drunk driving. But
I haven't either. Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I aged out of the teenage age that was getting a lot of the messaging.
And you haven't aged into teenage daughter yet.
I haven't aged yet into teenage
you
daughter.
You have young daughter, right. So there's another organization. It's called Moms Rising. I'll just give a plug. This is the plug part of the show. We're plugging Moms Rising.
Yeah.
Which is, to their credit, it is a mom's political advocacy group. It's a 501c4.
Okay.
Like a political thing. And I joined it. I am a proud Moms Rising member. And I get their text messages and it's like, hey, like text this or contact your, congressperson about this issue. And it is very, like you said, it's very precise, like exactly this issue. That's like a mom's issue.
Right.
But I feel like they could go stronger if they use that language of union and like also focused on boycott and strike.
Yes.
Because women and mothers especially get to control a lot of like what the household buys. So if the moms union was like, we're boycotting, these products that hurt children or that are going to damage maybe their climate, kind of a climate thing. They're going to damage the climate, and our kids and grandkids won't have a safe climate. That'd be like, oh shit, Johnson & Johnson might do something, or whoever they kind of move against.
Right. The ability to pull like a giant off switch on their money flow for a chunk of it would get attention that you can't get any other way,
Right.
And that is the power of a union or a collected group of people working together. So that all makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The other issues I think the one thing that really was a big deal was in the Build Back Better plan, which was just recently, right? This big bill that was like gutted and destroyed.
Yeah.
And failed. The one piece of it that had really a lot of support, like Nancy Pelosi was like really all over it, was universal childcare. Some kind of way that it makes it more accessible for childcare for people to get. And that was something that you really had support, like across broad swaths, and it was really affecting mothers. If there had been a mothers union that could have said, we're going on strike until there's child support, we're going to boycott X, Y, and Z until there's child support, or child support, whatever, universal child care.
Universal child care, right.
Yeah, I think that would have had a much stronger, I think it just would have been a lot stronger in terms of that, moral leadership than, I don't know, Bernie Sanders shouting or AOC piping off about, some kind of politically correct thing. That just doesn't really have, the kind of consistency or the kind of strength. And I mean, I love those guys, whatever, but the kind of the depth of like a phalanx of mothers really going to the mat and saying, this is what we need and we're going to get it.
Well, and it's really the people who are affected speaking up, giving voice to the people who are most affected by the decisions, and not are not the people making those decisions. And that's a problem that's going on right now, is that people who aren't affected are making decisions for people who are, and not really working with that.
Yeah. And totally the same thing could go for abortion. I mean, obviously this is an ongoing thing right now and in the future and in the past. I mean, abortion's been an issue for 50 or 70 years. But I mean, before then too, forever, right?
Forever. It's a forever issue.
It's a forever issue. It's evergreen.
Yeah.
But mothers, it actually turns out that the largest group of women who get abortions are actually mothers who already have a few kids and don't want to have another kid when they already have two and maybe they can't afford or they can't deal with it right then.
Sure.
So it's actually abortion, so perhaps counterintuitively, is actually a mother's issue.
Yeah.
And so would we see a mother's then again, it would probably be a wedge issue, because there might be the mothers who are saying, oh no,
there are. I mean, I grew up in a family,
mothers,
in a pro-life family where that was not, was not part of it.
You might not be able to pick those issues that are.
You might, but I mean, it is a mother's issue. It's just it's a women's issue. It's an everybody issue, which is crazy, but that's why everyone's fighting right now.
So maybe you couldn't do gun laws and abortion and stuff. Maybe,
those would be tough to jump on.
You could see. Yeah. You build the coalition around things people can agree on, like universal child care.
I feel like you start with like universal child care or like nutrition or exercise initiatives. Things like let's have less sugar overall in general put into our children. Like those types of things.
Right. Or just poisonous things in the environment.
But that also sucks to be like, start with inconsequential small stuff or less
you could start with universal child care. What about maternity paternity leave, right? You could say we want paid maternity paternity leave.
Yeah.
The mothers union is going on strike, every Wednesday until that happens or something.
Which is yet another thing we can point to other countries and say, look, it has been happening here. It works very well. Here are the results. This is not an untested thing.
I think you can even look at, if you don't want to go abroad, because sometimes Americans, I think we get a little skittish. We think, well, America's kind of different from other places.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure you can actually look at like programs that happen like in the military and programs that happened during the FDR times and programs that experimented in the 70s and the 90s with this. You can look at American examples and it's like, it even works in our like, weird multicultural society to have universal childcare or have, maternity paternity leave paid.
Well, they can have all these studies and data that shows that like, it positively affects every metric on the board except for like short-term money gain. And then they're like, well, that's the one and only one we care about. So sorry.
That's because there's no mothers union.
Right.
Because there's the There's like the dad's union.
Right.
You know,
or people who need to zoom out and go, well, if you look past, the Friday's numbers, you're like having an overall happier, more adjusted workforce benefits your company in the long run.
Right.
And people are like, I know, but I can't put those numbers into ones and zeros right now. So they don't exist.
It doesn't fit in the spreadsheet anywhere. Sure. Right. It's kind of like, it's basically just like the Chamber of Commerce, right? So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is just this organization that just represents business interests. And major businesses are just a part of it, and they pay dues. And so then it has lobbyists, and it can like do things in the world. Mothers should just have the same thing. We should call it the Chamber of Mothers. Like the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the it actually has a weird ring to it. Maybe not. Let's stick with Mothers
Chamber
Union.
Of Mothers.
But anyways, the Mothers
Chamber of Mothers sounds like a place to imprison people.
Prison, yeah, it sounds bad. I'm not a mother, so this isn't me. I'm not going to be able to go out and do this. I'd love to collaborate or contribute in some way, but really the mothers are going to have to, I think the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, someone in there should spin off, they could spin off and they could be like, we could go bigger with this.
Yeah, what if we
could go much bigger?
They come into the Mothers Against Drunk Driving meeting for that month and they go, all right, I'm going to blow your minds here. What about mothers for something? And everyone's like, what?
Get out.
What?
Get out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They just drop the mic and walk out of the meeting. No, I think that's good.
I think interesting, right?
So we would need a space where mothers congregate to like organize. And that's obviously Facebook.
Okay.
Is a place where all mothers, I feel like there's a critical mass of mothers,
Facebook mothers
that go around on doing their momming on Facebook.
Right.
So that could be the nexus. And then you kind of build your central army of mothers.
Yes.
And then they reach out to do mother outreach and get like satellite mothers. And then we've got like a network of mothers.
Yes. Cellular.
I just like saying mothers.
It's cellular.
That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, the Mothers Union is cellular. I think the other cool thing about thinking of it as a union is just like I don't know that much about feminism, but and like we always say in this podcast, we're not experts. We're just sort of armchair, looking at things. But it seems to me like feminism kind of is really active in like the universities, and it's like pretty active among like professional class kind of women, like Me Too movement stuff is very professional. Like my career is going not get advanced, that we're going to fight for, no harassment of the workplace. But it lacks like a working class and kind of in the streets sort of dimension. And I think if the emphasis was like a union and mothers, because mothers are kind of excluded from these sort of things, right? Because they're not in universities so much. There can be mothers in universities, but largely they're not, right? And they might even not be, really in the professional space as much either. They can be.
But part of the thing is that there's a lot of unpaid work going on, caregiving, and that takes time and energy. And keeping up on like the latest of all these different current events or social events also takes time and energy. And when push comes to shove, you got to be like, okay, I'm going to give this
also,
to my kids.
Can you imagine what the Mothers Union political endorsements page would be like? It'd be gold, right? It'd be pure gold.
But
These politicians
to be able to have
we
like
believe will support families and children and mothers.
Yes.
It's like, great. I'm a dude. I'm not even a dad. I'm voting for those people. Like, that's great, right?
Like we said, we're into mothers. We will vote for that.
That's right.
That didn't sound exactly how I thought.
Yeah, all of this is fraught, but we're just going to keep going. And I keep hearing Archer's voice in my head, phrasing, Yeah, so I like this idea of like a more solidarity, cross-class, cross-working class. Also like, I
was going to say,
cool.
with the energy it takes to like keep up on this stuff, that's one of the benefits that joining a union that you trust to look out for your best interest, you can kind of offload some of that time and energy to like the union situation, and then you can just kind of dip in and
show up,
inform yourself to your level that you have, that you have space for.
Yeah.
But still not feel like you're neglecting it if you have to dip out for a chunk of time or whatever because family stuff.
Yeah, it just feels like, we got the Me Too. I'm a complete and total ally and like advocate for all people, but especially, women is like, it's a huge, like you said, it's a forever issue. It's been an issue forever. But when we did the Me Too movement and people kind of talk about whether that was like get much out of that? And it's like, well, sure, we kind of changed the culture, which is good. And we made guys like think, and when we put a few people behind bars who deserve to be there, but we didn't get parental leave, and we didn't get childcare. Like all that just totally got destroyed. And I feel like that's a bummer. Like we need an organization, we need some kind of institutions that can convert movement politics into election politics.
Yeah.
Like we need a bridge from these like women's marches and women and Me Too movements happening on social media and in professional environments. And we need to then like transmute that energy into like, okay, a whole new phalanx of congressional women and mothers who are like going to put maternity, paternity leave on blast. Like that's going to happen, you know?
Right.
But we don't have that. We have this like chasm between the energy of a woman's movement and then the realization of that in the courts. I mean, we just lost, obviously. I mean, abortion was a loss. Yeah, it was a huge blow to essentially feminism, right? To say, you guys got to get, like, why were the last, whatever, judges all conservative because of failure in electoral politics. So we need to convert movement politics into electoral politics. And something like a Mothers Union, I think, does that in a really cool way, because it addresses, like, we could boycott, we could strike, but then, of course, we're going to be doing also political advocacy all across the whole society for these issues that mothers can all get behind. Just love it. I would love to be like a supporter. Yeah.
I think it's good. Yeah, harnessing the power of that group and the passion and just the capabilities of a group of sometimes angry moms about the state of things who want change.
Right.
That seems like a really powerful group,
Yeah. So much moral leadership, because everyone has a mother, obviously. And, everybody is like, oh shit, they want this. It actually reminds me of a famous thing that happened when Jane Jacobs was fighting Robert Moses when he was the power broker. Do you know Robert Moses? He's the federal.
I don't.
Oh, he was a power broker. He was called the Power Broker. The book, his biography is called The Power Broker.
Okay.
He's kind of a baddie, and he built what he called parkways, but we now call highways all over the country. And he would wield these huge federal budgets to build highways straight into cities. He would just slice through cities and build highways because he wanted to, like, cars to move a little faster from one part to the other.
Right.
And he tried to get a highway. Well, he tried two things. He tried to extend Fifth Avenue through Washington Square Park. So Washington Square Park would have been a road going through it instead of like what it is today, which is just this insanely beautiful park. And Jane Jacobs blocked that by organizing the mothers of the neighborhood, largely were the ones who showed up and were the ones, fighting him.
Nice.
And the same thing for Chelsea, the whole neighborhood of Chelsea. He was going to build the Manhattan Expressway straight through it and destroy most of it, which now it's the most valuable and beautiful real estate in the whole world, arguably. And anyways, when in the hearing, one hearing that he attended, he yelled in the room and he said, "No one's against this. No one except for a bunch of mothers." And he was gesturing to Jane Jacobs and her group, which were largely mothers. And Jane Jacobs herself was, who was, she's, the urbanist Jane Jacobs. She had 3 kids before she wrote her great book and became like Jane Jacobs. Like she was a mom, totally.
Yeah.
So that to me also was like an inspiration for, like, man, and the drunk driving thing. It's like, man, that always, for me, when I heard that Moms Against Drunk Driving, that always felt like that had a lot of strong weight behind it. And so that seems like they could throw that behind a bunch of things, you know, and get maybe something like national, could even be international, really. There could be solidarity across national borders as well. I mean, mothers are mothers all over the world.
Well, and if you're picking these, if you have issues that are universal with all the moms in this country, there's a good likelihood those are going to be universal outside. You're picking really core things that moms can really rally around and get behind.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, so in another universe, this has already happened, In
a universe ruled by moms, which there would have to be, then they figured it out.
Oh, one other thing that I didn't mention.
Power in reality.
It's been harnessed. The one thing I didn't mention, which is really interesting too, was there's this Vox explained video, like an explainer video on Netflix that's by Vox. And it talked about the wage gap between men and women. And people always say, oh, there's a wage gap between men and women. Women make 76 cents on the dollar to men.
Right.
But this Vox thing actually said that's not exactly right. Non-mother women actually make 98 cents on the dollar to men, essentially parity. I mean, basically parity. It's actually mothers who make 60 cents on the dollar to men. And then if you average all the women together, it's 76 cents. So it's actually wage parity, wage equity is actually a mother's issue,
right?
Not a women's issue. I mean, women will often become mothers, so it still could be a women's issue by solidarity, but it's actually literally only affecting mothers, not women.
Right.
Well, so that's an interesting thing that the Mothers Union could really go ham on.
Sure. And it kicks in at motherhood probably, but that's an issue for everybody if they're planning on like, oh, do I want to take what I know is probably going to be a trajectory dip in my career, in my lifetime earnings, just because I wanted to have a family, when the father of the family that is the same family that's had doesn't have to take that dip. You know, But this is why when you instate maternity leave, you have to also instate equal amounts of paternity leave. Because if you don't, tiny
you're
babies.
You're actually no. But even if I know what you, go ahead.
I'm just saying everybody should. Yeah, the two parents. Be with the
fathers.
Tiny baby.
Of course, fathers should be with their babies.
It's a real important time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, and of course, from that care perspective, that's totally right. You wouldn't even have to go any further than that. But if you did want to talk about in terms of advancing the position of women and their standing in society and mothers in society, it's interesting that countries that have maternity leave but don't have paternity leave, even if it's generous maternity leave, they still hurt women and mothers because the companies are all like, well, they're going to take 6 months off. Their career is going to go down by 6 months.
Yeah.
But if you say, no, men and women both get maternity, paternity leave, and if the guy doesn't use it, he loses it, right? Then you are creating a situation where the guy's going to take it. And now all men it's going to start to be the norm that men all take that time too, because they're not going to lose a month or 2 or 3 months of paid time off. They're going to take it. And by doing that, now it puts all men and women on the same page in terms of everyone takes a few months off when they have a kid, And so now everyone's career is kind of the same, instead of the men's career shooting up and the mother's career staying level or going down. So that's an interesting thing that if you look at other countries, that's one thing that they can do to make it more equitable. It needs to be maternity, paternity. Obviously, if you have 2 fathers, 2 mothers, it'd be maternity, whatever. It's the same. Both parents
parental leave.
Yeah, but you want to make it sure that you can't be transferred from one person to the other, and the other person can't because you want to make it so that it's like use it or lose it. You individually use it or lose it.
Right.
Because then it puts everyone on the same footing. So there's these interesting things that if a mother's union could really, and it's a union too, because I'm talking about wages, I'm talking about time off. Like these are labor questions, right? Childcare is a labor question because you get childcare, then you can go to your job. So that's why I think like the union side of it really is punchy in terms of we're going to approach, maybe it isn't these abortion and gun control. Maybe that's because maybe that's not labory enough. We got to just do the union. Maternity, paternity leave.
Real quality of life.
Childcare. And
like immediate
and equal pay for mothers. Hour worked as an hour pay.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, man, I hadn't really fleshed out those 3 pieces, but those might be the 3 issues that could really be the things that
start with those tenets.
Yeah, start with those 3. Maybe you wouldn't have to branch off shit. You get those 3, you could just wrap the place up, right? I mean, who knows? That's great. That's so powerful.
Well, and as your influence and power grows, your membership grows, which has a cyclical effect.
You could see where you're
building your membership and power.
Yeah, and then who knows? Maybe the country would be in a different place if all the mothers were paid the same and there was paternity, maternity leave, and childcare. Maybe the country would be in such a different place that you could say, like, we're going to go after some other issue now.
And then we become the universe controlled by moms, and moms figure out cold fusion and everything is
space
fine.
Moms.
Oh my gosh. We put our moms out into space.
Yeah.
Well, Mars needs moms. Everybody knows that already.
I think we found our tagline. Mars needs moms.
Sorry, that one's already taken by a Disney movie.
Is that?
Yeah.
Which Disney movie does
Mars needs
promote
moms?
that Mars needs moms?
That's the title of a movie.
I am blown away. Usually I know every title of every movie.
After we record, I'll have to show you.
Okay, we'll watch it. Okay, maybe we should end on that note.
I think it's a good spot.
Moms in Space.
Yeah, Moms in Space, everywhere.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take care.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.